Salve, salve, Maestro here, and today we are back with another Wiki Free campaign. And this time, as you can see, we're playing as India, or at least the British East India Company. And being honest, the developers made this country only to see it fail because, from what I can tell, it's just a worst great chin. Because, like, you can see here, we have a major problem with unrealized taxes. And on top of that, we also need to pay a ton of money to the Great Britain. More exactly, we need to pay 40% of our revenue for the British. So, like, almost half of our income is going away, and we need to deal with the other half. And we need to manage this while we are a minor power, so we have a lot of interest over debt. We also need to mobilize our army in order to complete these journal entries. A lot of things to do, but at least we got a decent army to wipe out our enemies here on our neighborhood. We are in the British market, which is the best market in the game. And although we don't have a very good law system, we are actually able to reform it rather easier than the Chingar. So with that being said, let's start our campaign. So first of all, let's take a look at the journal entries here that we had to consolidate the colonial rule and stabilize the unstable Raj. And in order to complete the unstable Raj, we need to consolidate the colonial rule, so let's start by it. So in order to complete it, we actually need to conquer states. We need to conquer Burma, basically, and these little uncolonized areas here, and basically half of Central Asia. But actually, we got some claims over this region. So what I prefer to do is just go for them and return states because we can actually deal with this infamy. While in order to go for Burma and do not take a ton of infamy, it's preferable to just make them a protectorate, and then all of this area here that we need to take, it's gonna be ours. In our first war, I prefer to go for Kausahaj because I want to take a interest here without needing to declare it, because I want to declare it over the North German area, and you're gonna see why. And also because they start in war. So like at least this 14 battalion from its subject will not engage in war against us. So it maybe will be an easier war than declaring a protectorate over Burma. But even then, right after the war with Kausahaj start, I will already be able to initialize a diplomatic play against Burma, which is what I'm gonna do. Talking about economy, as I said, money and financial situation is a very tough thing to deal as the Indians. So what I'm gonna do with the construction sector is go to iron frame buildings and only build three of them. Exactly, it's very little, but we can't expand this a lot because this will expand our expenses. Maybe this sound a little bit tricky, but I think you got it. And we have no margin to get into debt. We need to pay this credit and avoid getting some interest because this will be a snowball effect and will completely destroy our country. About production methods, it's very easy. You can always max them out because we are in the British market. So everything is fine. Everything has a demand for, everything has a supply for. So you can just switch it up everything to max PM. Talking about technology now, I do prefer to go for central archives as the Indians because we already have a stock exchange, so we get this bonus of METI. And as I said, we lack a lot of bureaucracy and taxation capacity. So I think the first law to go as the Indians is central archives. Talking about diplomacy, now we need to declare our rivalries because we actually will need a lot of influence. So initially, we can only declare rivalry on Denmark, Ottoman Empire, and the Portuguese. But after we declare our interest here in the North German area, we're going to be able to declare a ton of rivalries against a lot of OPMs, which won't make any difference for us and it will be beautiful. And with that influence, I'm actually going to improve relations with the Russians and with the French because I want the Russians to support my independence, as I don't want my independence to go down as it is right now because they can't turn me into a colony. And even though this would decrease the amount of money that I need to pay for them, it will make one of these journal entries fail. which is exactly this one. We cannot be a colony. And the French, because I want to take this military assistance here. About the British itself, we don't want to decrease our relations with them because we don't want them to raise the taxes, but we actually want to increase our liberty desires. So we can do that by going for subject actions and requesting some things. If they deny, it's going to increase our liberty desire by 10. And also there is this request knowledge sharing, which they can accept, which will be very good. So if they accept or deny, it will be good for us in both ways. And talking about regional diplomacy, we actually want to increase relations with our subjects because this will help us to stabilize the Raj and won't make them rebellious. But we actually want to have a surplus of influence later because we want to have this bonus of infamy decay. So by now that we don't have any infamy, I'm going to spend it all. Now talking about authority, what I'm going to do is have road maintenance in this state here, which is the best state of India's. So we are going to build up our economy around it. So road maintenance to increase construction efficiency. And also in this state here, because it starts with a lack of infrastructure. So we need to give to them. With the rest of it, I'm going to get some decrease over promote social mobility in these four states, which are the most populous one that we have can actually go for Bombay or Carnatic, but I don't think it's very necessary. And I say that because Alfari is going to be very useful for us because we can remove this tax on tobacco, but we actually need this money in order to keep our finances good. So I'm going to put some consumption taxes here, wasting authority. So I kept the authority this high in order to increase the enactment time, since we actually want to get rid of one of our legislations, like extraction economy, which I'll tell in a minute. Finally, to stop talking about finance, I'm gonna increase the taxes to very high taxes, but also I'm gonna increase the military wages. And why am I doing that? It's because of the unstable rush. If you can see here, very high military wages get the +1 to take this progress bar, and very high taxes is a -1. So I increased the taxes because we need the money, but in compensation, I increased the military wages because I want this to go up. Finally, talking about the government, we actually want to put the landowners in our government. Yes, this might seem very crazy, like probably you've never seen a run where you want to put the landowners without the market liberal here, but trust me, this will be the right decision. And why is that? Is because by doing that, we increase their approval of us, and their approval will actually take up this free progress bar here because of the approval of the landowners and because there is a native Indian interest group in government. But we actually are doing that because of this law here of extraction economy. Extraction economy is the worst economic system head to head with industry ban. And it's only worth it for you to put on your subjects. So you never want to run with it. So I put it the landowners because now we are actually able to pass another economic system. Now, I could go for interventionism, but the problem is the petit bourgeoisie, which here is the badrolocs. What happens is that they oppose any law that isn't common economy, laissez-faire, and interventionism. So if I switch directly to interventionism, the only group that's going to support laissez-faire will be the industrialists, which are the East India Company. And actually, not even them support, because I forgot that they have this special ideology which support extraction economy. So the only group now that support laissez-faire is the Badlocks. So if I move to interventionism, they are not going to support it at all. So I think that even though agrarianism is a little bit worse than interventionism, it's better when you think at the future. So the British denied the request knowledge, although I think it would be better to they accept it, but at least our liberty desire increase. And every time that our liberty desire go to this place here of low, I'm going to see which action I can take that they are gonna to reject and just ask for them in order to bring it up. So luckily they didn't back it down because you don't have enough maneuver points to make all of your goals primary, and they are always very worried about the war situation. So there is a chance for them to back down. At least that's what the UI says, because I don't actually think that they can back down because they're gonna be fully annexed. And while this war goes on, I will already go and declare on Burma. So Russia already accept and they are gonna to support our independence. So very nice. And as I said about our economic situation, I only built three construction sector and we are already on a negative balance. And I still need to mobilize these two armies, which will increase by almost 14K, I think. So it's a very tight situation that needs to be very close manipulated. And the situation here in Kalsahaj, it's much tougher than I thought, because in the other times that I tested, I would actually be able to run over them, but they are crushing my army. So I would need to hope that this war on Bulma ends very quickly in order to send reinforcements here. So now that the war is completely over, here is just a matter of time. I will already start to send this army over Kalsahaj. And during the Unstable Raj journal entry, a lot of this type of event will pop up, which you need to choose between something and decreasing the stability of the hash, which basically decrease these progress bars. So most of the time, if not always, I just go for the one that doesn't drop this progress bar, because if they get under some number, it will start to have some revolts, which we don't want. And now we managed to defeat the Kalsahaj. It was much tougher than I thought, being honest. But at least now we have our interest here in the Himalayas, and we can use it on the North Germany. And also in Persia, we want it. And basically, what you do is never stop going to war and conquer everything. At least this is what I try to do. But in this situation, I'm actually trying to manage more my money. So I won't be starting a ton of wars at the same time, probably. I'll see. And also, I'll be trying to mobilize as many arms as I need. So, as an example, most of the times I would merge this army that you gain when you have control over some territory. I will not be merging them because, of course, they're going to increase the upkeep. So, I need to save some money. Now, this is something that we always need to take a look and see what the RNG can give to us. Because most of the times I would have easy wars here, but then I had this tough war with Kalsahaj. But now something that never happened is this war actually is not a war, is a revolution on Prussia, and they probably can win this. But the best part is, even though they can't win, they can give us a bankroll, which we need a lot right now. So always try to seek some bankrolls as India, because you are gonna need it a lot. So even though I'm not gonna support them, I'm not gonna send troops, of course, but I will side with them because of this bankroll. And you can see that they almost don't want to give to us. So very, very nice. And this actually remind me that our interest here in the North German is on. So we already can declare our rivalries that we are very much in need. And I basically declare rivalry over everyone here. Even Sweden was able. I would just not gonna declare rivalry on Netherlands and Dutch East Indies, because I'm a little bit worried that maybe they can take part in some of my diplomatic plays here. But what's strange is that I can declare rivalry over Bolivia. Like, okay, I will accept it. Like, just take a look at how many influence we got from this. And I was just checking this map mode, and I can see that neither Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies have an interest here. So I'll just declare rivalry on them, because most of our wars, if not all of them, it's gonna be only in this area here, so it's all fine. It would actually be interesting if you could side in wars of your rivals, even though you don't have a interest over the region that this war is being fought. Like, at least this makes sense, you know? And you can see that even with all that rivalries, we are having very few infamy decay, but this will change, because in some time we are actually gonna be maxing out our relations with our subject. So this improved relations action here will drop out. And as I said, as soon as some more start, you already go for other. I will go for Cindy right now because I want to have these wars over the ocean here in order to avoid if some of my rivalries actually declare an interest in this area, and then they will be able to join the wars. So before they do that, I'm already gonna fight the wars. So we ended this war here, and just to clarify, I always go to the north first because you can clearly see that we bought the Great Chin over this region here of Kashmir. And why I went for it is because there is gonna pop up an event which is gonna to create a subject. So if the Great Britain starts a war with Great Chin, which they most of the times do, probably they will just end this war with Vietnam and then will declare war over Qing. So by doing that, I can give to them exempt from service, which is not gonna involve them into the war with Qing. So I won't have a border with Qing, and then I will not have to worry about it. So basically, this is the event that I said before. This will increase the liberty desire and decrease stability. I think of this unstable horizon. We of course don't wasn't want it. So just create a new country. So I'm basically building some administration buildings in order to first remove the deficit over bureaucracy, which we already did, but also increase the tax collection. I know the best option is always go for technology, but we actually need this a lot. So while that, I'm of course receiving some bureaucracy. So what I prefer to do is start to incorporate state because by this we're gonna be able to tax them and then we can have some more money. So another event about creating a nation, and to avoid coming back event after event, I always create a new nation. So just to point out, I think it's preferable rather than getting this hit over the journal entry. So what happened is that we are in very illegitimate government, so the legislation won't pass, which is sad because it was the first time that I actually had a positive balance. So I will need to decrease the taxes in order to keep this legislation to go on. And right after agrarianism passes, I think I already can go back to the old government setup because the landowners won't be useful anymore. So I was just checking here about the request military assistance of the French, and I just noticed that they have a lower army power projection than us, so they are not able to send us some military assistance. But at least from what I can tell, they are very close to support our independence, which is huge because we still are not able to keep this number here. What is it? Here. It's always dropping because of the way our country is, right? And the law it's in a very tough situation because even with 9% of stall chance, we had two setbacks and 62% of success chance, and even though and we are still in amendment time. So let's just hope for the best. And Persia right here, it's very much aggressive than before, like the other gameplays that I've seen them. So they actually are taking some opportunities as we destroy our enemies. They are going back and trying to take their lands now that their enemies are weak since we defeated them. So right now we are in a bad situation, let's be honest, because our balance is red, which means that even if we stop our construction sector, it will be on red. So I would try a different strategy that I've done before, which is not building. Like I will leave the construction sector as it is. I know the economy will hurt a little bit, but it's necessary. Thank God it came into a nice time. We unlocked Central Archive, so we're gonna massively increase our taxation capacity. But just pay attention to something that our consume over paper, it's huge. So probably it's the most expensive thing that we're spending right now. Maybe only military goods, yeah, not even military goods are comparable to paper. So even though we're gonna switch, of course, but we need to construct more paper industries, which I will do after I finish this war and not need to pay for army mobilization. And now for the next technology, water boiler is king. Central banking would help us a lot, but I think that I'm going for intensive agriculture because in order to complete the unstable rise, I need to increase the standard of living to 10, which it's the most difficult part of this journal entry. So by doing that, I will be able to produce more grains and probably increase the standard of living of my people. And we did it. We have agrarianism finally. And this is very good because of multiple reasons, but just point out something. It's extraction economy actually take away your capitalists or aristocrats, basically all the investment pool of your nation. So since we are a nation that can't invest a ton of money, at least in the beginning, having the investment pool being strong will be very good in order to keep our economy expanding. So we can clearly see that the reinvestment here, it's much bigger than in the beginning. I didn't show it in the beginning, but it is very small. It's kind of like 3,000. So by just switching, we already improved it a lot. And you can actually see how important is the private section because I'm building nothing. And even then, my economy is still okay. It didn't suffer from the fact that I'm not building something and increasing demand over goods and their prices. Now that we passed agrarianism, there are some laws which would be interesting, like welfare would be great for us to complete the journal entry, but we don't have the money. Slavery, we can actually ban it. It's doable. The problem is that this will make the zamindars mad, and we don't want them to get mad because this will hurt our progress bar here. So we probably will do after we completed this journal entry. There are some institutions that I kind of wanted, like dedicated police force will be interesting again because of the journal entry, because of this turmoil state. And educational system would be great, but again, I don't have the bureaucracy for it, and I'm not willing to expand my government administration buildings because although I need them in order to increase our taxation capacity, the price of paper is already very high in the British market. And although I think in most of the situations it's always worth it to go for government administrations, since we only stay with 60% of our income, since we need to pay this diplomatic pact to the Great Britain, it maybe won't be worth it anymore, at least by some point. So we are kind of locked behind our legislation here. And also we could go for per capita taxation. But the problem is everyone that supports per capita taxation also supports proportional taxation for the same reasons. So if I go for per capita taxation, they won't support another move to proportional taxation because they are already happy with the states that they are in. And per capita taxation doesn't increase the standard of living as great as proportional taxation does. So we might want to save it for later times. And only to make it even worse, the Great Britain established the vassalization too, which now we need to pay 25% more income transfer for them. So now that we are kind of locked into our legislation, I'm thinking about actually expanding this authority in order to generate more money or in some decrees. So we can again start expanding our economy. So probably creating some paper industries and freeing us in order to create more government administration. And France is accepting to support our independence. So nice. Now we can start to take this a little bit up because although it's good to decrease radicalism, increase loyalists, I am not in a very good situation since the British can turn us into a colony, although I don't think they will do that a lot. So it's kind of fine still, but I will continue to increase the liberty desire here. So maybe the British will try to reduce payments or get my debt in order to decrease it to more acceptable numbers for them. And now with our final war, we finally conquest every place we need. So I'll probably just keep laying low in order to increase my economy and remove this credit line here. But I also thought that expanding into this area would be very great. So I would try to reduce my infamy in order to be able to subjugate Persia because like let me see here how many I'm getting from my subjects. Like this little subject here, which has a GDP of 2.4 million, is paying me 4K. Persia has 2.7 million. So it can be something like a plus 4K or 5K into our bank account, which would be very massive for us. So I'm starting to really think about making everyone here my puppet. Well, something that I did right now, it is that I'm removing this luxury production PM because this is actually something that happen even nowadays, which is there are some low developed countries that produce a ton of luxurious products and goods because it is more profitable to produce them locally and then export to bigger markets like Europe or United States. But what's actually happening is that there is a great demand over, let's say, uh, luxury furniture or luxury clothes because the British pops are filthy rich and they can pay for it. And I am the one producing it. But like my people here aren't getting basic clothes because I'm focusing on the British market itself. So I'm starting to decrease this production here even though sometimes it will be less profitable in order to supply the demand that my country needs, and with that, increasing the standard of living. Oh, now I saw something which I hope it helps us to solve our situation because we actually have a market liberal. This market liberal, the Frederick Habit, was here some time ago, but he's from the petit bourgeoisie only, and the petit bourgeoisie already support laissez-faire, so it was not that great. But what I'm seeing here is this guy, the Benhard Johannes, which support market liberal and is from the landowners, so passing laissez-faire won't make the zamindars mad, and as such, won't decrease our progress bar over this journal entry here, which is already declining a little bit because of turmoil. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna invite him to our country, bolster the modernization movement, and try to see if I can put him in the landowner's power. So now that we are in this very critical point of our campaign that can be actually a turning phase into our run, I will end the video by here. I hope you liked the episode. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I see you next time.